and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm pretty good. So yourself?
I'm doing very well, yes. This was a late choice for us. We normally have our movies set up probably about a week in advance, usually.
Yeah, we do usually.
And
I sort of had a bit of a blank. The thing is I'd written a load down, and I misplaced where I put it, and then I just could not think of something. And I was sat down the other day and I thought, that would be a good one to do.
Well, yeah, I was desperately trying to think of a movie when you text me. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that'll do. That's fine. Not a film that I have watched much. I watched it when it came out. I got it on DVD and watched it again then. And I haven't seen it probably since, I don't think. And fuck me, this is a weird film. This is like, it's not Zardoz weird.
No.
But it's like they took 5 different types of movies and just mashed them together in a way that like shouldn't work at all, but somehow it works.
Well, I think so.
It's
I think
very weird.
It does get a lot of stick for trying too much,
It's
and I think
fucking odd, but I kind of love it.
It's not going to be for everyone, like we say. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think it feels to me like this is one of those movies that has been sort of almost criminally forgotten. It's like nobody really sort of.
I have long said,
"Oh, I remember that movie. I didn't really think about it for like 20 years or whatever." Because it's 2001 it came out. It's like, wow, Jesus Christ. Because I went to the cinema to see this one.
I didn't see it in the cinema. Actually, I didn't see it in the cinema.
Well, at the time, me and my mate were like big Mark Dacascos fans.
Well,
and it was like any opportunity to see Mark Dacascos at the time.
Well, Mark Dacascos, I think, is one of the like biggest casualties of Hollywood. That guy he deserved so much more work back in the day. He really, and it's annoying because now he seems to be getting quite a lot of recognition recently with John Wick 3 or whatever one he was in, and it's like, god, this dude's been amazing his entire career, and now he's like probably in his 60s, and you're like, oh yeah, now we're all about Mark Dacascos. It's like, this guy was so talented in the 90s. I always felt like he should have been in so much more than he was.
Absolutely.
So of course
he was born 64, so he's like 55 sort of.
50. Okay, so a bit younger than I thought, but even so,
the thing is, if you look at his page, he's been in a lot of stuff, but it's like stuff that you would have never seen.
But I think he should have been mainstream. This guy should have
totally should have been mainstream.
Huge.
He should have. I mean, Crying Freeman again. It was the same director.
Same director.
It's another one of those sort of weird anomaly movies that it wasn't terribly good, but it was really kind of enjoyable.
It's one of the more faithful adaptations I've ever seen. I think they just literally made the movie, like shot for shot. I like Crying Freeman. It is a guilty pleasure. It is firmly in the guilty pleasure category. But I do love it. I actually realised I looked up Christophe Gans directorial work, and I have seen all of his movies pretty much.
I haven't seen his Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, I have, and I liked it.
I've heard so many good things about it, and it's always been one of those ones that I've just never got round to.
I think it's better than the Disney remake version.
Oh, I've heard that.
I liked it. I enjoyed Silent Hill. It's not very good. Silent Hill adaptation. I could get into that, but I like it as a horror movie. I think it's quite effective in places.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the first movies, actually.
It's got some of the elements of the game that sort of kind of work, and some of them that they sort of forgot. I mean, the thing for me was I used to play that, and my wife used to sit and watch me play. And when we first watched that movie, we were all sat around in a big sort of group. And when the sirens came on, me and my wife like looked at each other really excitedly, and everybody else like had no clue. And it was like, "Ooh, great, the sirens! It's gonna be so good." And it's like, "Oh, it's a bit disappointing."
It was one of the first movies I remember watching in the cinema and thinking, some of these CGI creatures are actually creeping me out, which I didn't think was possible from a CGI creature. It was one of the first where I was like, it's quite effective, some of this, But, misuse of Pyramid Head and all of that, and that I'll start going into Icons of Sin tangent that I often get into whenever we talk about Silent Hill. But even the Silent Hill series misused Pyramid Head because he should have only really been in Silent Hill 2. So, of course, we are talking about Brotherhood of the Wolf from 2001. It's a fucking weird movie. Catch you next time.
Yeah. It did really well. It's something like the seventh the seventh biggest French language film in America, I think.
Wow, it had a budget of 29 million, made 70 in the box office. Yeah, so it did well.
It did ridiculously well. I mean, I think almost everybody in it is like really good. And I think even the main guy, Samuel Le Bahan, I think he probably could have had a better English career as well. I mean, he's had a massive career in France.
Yeah.
But I think he's a really charming sort of. He's got a sort of Christopher Lambert thing about him, I think.
Yeah, he does kind of remind me of a young Christopher Lambert actually in this movie. Yeah, he's got that look. There's something about his look.
Yeah, and I think he could have probably had a sort of a better American career too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean. It was definitely sort of like some people really praised it for its idea, I think its boldness, I guess, and others were like, no, it's a mess, it's like too much stuff going on, and it's like, well, it depends. Yeah, again, I mean, it's, opinions vary, but
it throws a lot at the wall. And
really does.
Some of it sticks and some of it really doesn't. I think the biggest miss for me in this movie is the horror aspect. I don't think it really works. I mean, it's not bad to watch or anything. I just think it falls flat in terms of scaring anybody. It's kind of like, not really. But most of it, I mean, I like, obviously, I love the martial arts. I love the mystery kind of stuff going on.
I think it does a really good job with the creature. Like, it does a really good sort of, classic monster thing of not showing the monster till
that's good, and
halfway through,
especially now because some of that CG does not look great. So it's kind of thankful that they left that towards the end.
Some of the leg work, as it were, looks a bit more. But it's Jim Henson creatures as well.
Oh, when it's the creature and you get the close up of the face and it's clearly like an animatronic or something, that looks great.
Yeah,
it's those long distance shots when it's running or climbing up things and stuff that doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
No. But it's based on a supposedly real beast, which I didn't realize.
Yeah, the beast of Gévaudan.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a real thing until I was looking at it for this movie. So that's something.
Over a sort of couple of year period in Gévaudan, all these attacks kept happening, and I mean, the estimations are between 100 and 600 people died. So it's a very varied, how many people.
Either
died.
way, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly, and I think the
thing is though, back then, how many? I mean, I know most of this movie is based around it's just wolf. It's a wolf, but how many people did die of wolves back then? Because 100 people in what period of time? That's not crazy,
Not really. No, I mean there was. I think I think wolf attacks happened all the time, but I think it was because it was in such a small area and it was so concentrated, and I think the general thoughts these days is that it was some sort of mastiff wolf hybrid.
Okay.
So they think that there was more than one wolf. They think that it was probably maybe one or two packs.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that the main one because the description of this sort of wolf does seem to be of a specific type. They all seem to be quite. There's a lot of correlation to what they saw.
Yes,
what these people saw. So I think it's not in dispute that that something existed.
No,
as it were, that it was definitely a real thing.
It certainly wasn't a fucking lion, but
it probably wasn't a lion in a suit.
I do kind of love this movie. I was watching it last night and I was like, this is absolutely fucking mental, but I kind of love it. I just... It's just kind of brilliant. I know, it was a really good pick. I haven't seen it for years. And it's weird, like, you know how sometimes you'll just watch a movie once or twice and not really think much of it? Or not think too much into it. And I think that's what happened. I watched it a couple of times and I thought, it's just a silly, French martial arts movie. Just watched it for what it was. And it was only really this time rewatching it that I was like, God, this is really weird. This is like fascinatingly weird, this movie. And it's just... it just works. I can't explain it. Because we're going to go through this now, and it will sound
feels like
awful.
A very weird experiment, doesn't it? That sort of that they just thought, we'll just see if what we can do and get away with, and see how it comes out. I think, and I personally, I think it does a bloody good job with all things considered.
All things considered, and I think when we go through this now, if you haven't watched this movie, you're probably going to be like, this just sounds like a mess. It's somehow it's not. That's all I can say. You'll just have to watch it and take our word for it, because somehow all of this batshit stuff kind of works. So we'll go through it as best we can. As we said, it's a long film. It's like 2.5 hours or something like that. Getting on for 2.5 hours.
I did not remember how long it was. I thought it was a lot shorter than that. So
I think about halfway through, I looked at the time code and I was like, "Oh shit!" Okay.
I did get 3/4 of the way, and I thought, "Wow, I remember this being over by now," but clearly not. And I looked at I did look at the time code. I was like, "Oh blimey, there's another that's over 40 minutes left, sort of." Yeah, and I thought, "Okay, that's fine."
It's got a fascinating number of cuts.
I wasn't bored or anything, so
so the French US cut is 143 minutes, UK cut is 139, director's cut is 150. So I think I've just watched the standard UK cut, but we'll see. So it starts with I guess a flash forward for this story. It starts in during the French Revolution with the Marquis writing his memoirs.
So I think it's the Terror, isn't it? So it would be about 1793-ish.
Yeah, he's an old man at this point, and and it basically narrates the story, doesn't he? He recounts the tale from 1760 odd.
He's literally waiting for the mob to come and get him, basically, to take.
There's like a lynch mob waiting to see him dead.
And it's like clearly he was a good man, because all of his people are like, "You've got to run, and he's like, "No, I've accepted my fate."
And they all look devastated when he's leaving as well. At the end, they're all like, "Oh fuck," like and he does man up. He mans up and he takes it. But before then, he sort of recounts his this story from 1764. About the mysterious beast terrorizing the province of Javadot. Basically, so it kind of starts with his narration, and then it kind of goes into the story. And I think it starts with that wonderful scene.
It's the rain.
It
starts with an old man and a woman running away from a bunch of people dressed as women. And at first you're like, what the fuck is going on here? This is weird. Because they've all got like rouge on and like wigs and skirts, and it's like, okay, I've heard of some weird gangs, but this is a kind of weird, an odd gang. And it's absolutely pissing down. And you get that fucking awesome shot of de Fronsac and Manny, and they're full on like massive leather coats and leather face coverings with these tricorn hats in the rain, and the music is like, this is a western. They're coming over the hill. It's total western music.
It's and this is one of the things that saves this movie, is that the cinematography is fantastic.
Oh yes.
So I think that's how it gets away with a lot of its weirdness, is just because it's so well shot. This shot in the rain is one I always remember. This sticks in my mind whenever anyone says Brotherhood of the Wolf. This is the scene I remember. It's always this rainy opening with Manny and
shows
de
off
Fronsac.
France beautifully, doesn't it? It's almost made me want to move to France, but yeah, no,
the landscapes in this are incredible. The landscape shots of this, and some of the other shots they do later on with clearly like a helicopter shot, but then they CG to kind of go down rock formations and things.
I did think that. I thought, oh, this is a really good helicopter shot, and then they go through. There's a bit where they go through this valley, and it was like, oh, that was definitely CG. That was a little ropey.
It was, but for the time,
but it was,
pretty
exactly.
Impressive.
For the time, it was really good. Because I don't think they would have had drones.
No, in 2001.
Don't
think so.
Yeah,
maybe really expensive drones, but I would have thought it was a helicopter shot. But it's a very nice shot anyway. So yes, we are introduced to Defrozac and Manny, who, as you said, are on horseback in that amazing attire, and this group of weirdos that are accosting this woman and the old man are like, what the fuck do you want?
What the fuck are you?
Yeah, and basically Manny just dismounts.
Manny just gets off the horse and disarms one and basically takes them all out.
Yeah, in a very
fashion. It's
filmed like a Japanese, a sort of classic Japanese movie. This fight. A lot of the angles used, especially in the rain and stuff, it all feels very, very reminiscent of Japanese cinema.
Yeah.
But yeah, he takes them out very, very well. And we discover. Sorry, go on.
They basically, they after he's finished, they basically say, he poisoned their horses or something, and the girl is a witch.
Yes.
And the old man says, no, I cured their horses and they refused to pay me.
Yeah. And we discover she's not a witch either.
Yeah, no, we definitely discover that she's not a witch. She's definitely fucking weird.
She's a bitch, but she's not a witch.
She's an absolute she's definitely wrong.
Yes,
there's something clearly wrong with her.
A lot wrong with her. Yeah,
but so basically, Prozac says who he is, and that gets the payment for the old man and sort of sends them all on their way.
Yes.
Well, no, he leaves them. He leaves them all in the dirt, doesn't he?
We catch up with them later.
Yeah, and we do discover the reason they're dressed as women is because the beast only attacks women and children.
Mm-hmm.
So the soldiers are disguising themselves as women to try and get attacked.
Yes. So we discover that Defrozac is a knight, and also he's a naturalist, isn't he?
He's naturalist. He works in the king's gardens as a naturalist, and he's spent time in the Americas where he fought the English.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Manny is basically Hawkeye, isn't he? He's clearly the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, he's Iroquois from Hawaii, I guess.
From Hawaii, yes.
But yeah, he's supposed to be an Indian from Iroquois Indian. And yes, presumably last. I think they do outright state that he's the last of his tribe, don't they? At one point.
Yeah, because there's a bit later on where Fronsac says about what they did to his tribe. And they were supposed to kill them all, but he didn't. And basically, Manny saved his life, and so they've like. There's a really good bit where he says he says about his servant, and he says he's not my servant, he's my friend.
Yeah.
No, he's not my servant, he's my brother. He says.
Yeah. So they head to the province. And
they head to the castle of the Comte of whatever he is.
Yes, the Count of something.
That's. I mean, the problem is, it's one. My French.
My French is. I didn't do French. I did German, and I'm not very good at that. So. Yeah,
exactly. So, and there are a lot of comps and there a lot of nobility here, and they've all got like, okay, that's way too many for me to remember. I'm never going to remember all those names. But we go to the Thomas de Approcher, is it? Oh God, it's his father that owns the land, and they're going to be staying with him.
Yes.
And they're then introduced to all the basically nobility of this area.
All of the twats in one room.
Yeah. So you've got like the he's like a bishop or something, and then you've got all the sort of nobility, and then you also introduced to Vincent Cassel's character, Jean-Francois, who immediately, I mean, the
villain might as well have it tattooed on his face.
The funny thing is, I think as well, Vincent Cassel was offered the part of this, and he turned it down apparently originally, and then when they made it more villain-like, he accepted. It was like,
really?
How can we get you to accept it? Make it a bigger villain. Oh, all right, that's fine. I mean, the problem with Vincent Cassel is he does have a sort of type, doesn't he? He's very good at playing very dodgy characters. So you're sort of your spidey sense tingles as the moment you come into the room when he's there.
Yeah, he is like immediately clearly the villain. Or at least a villain.
Yeah, he's got one arm due to, he says he was travelled in Africa and he was attacked by a lion and it took his arm. He got gangrene and it was removed. And through these people, we get the idea that this beast is. It fully explains the beast and who it's been attacking, how the different cases, the people that there's been hired to come and to do it, and Fonsac says, that obviously I'm here from the king, and
he wants it studied.
He wants to basically bring the beast back for the king, sort of thing. And we then get like a really big sort of dinner scene, don't we?
Yes, where they're eating kind of everything. It's just like a table full of food.
And I love this bit. He Fonsac.
Is this the bit of the fish, or is that later?
Yeah,
it's a bit of the fish.
This bit, he's explaining the
furry trout.
Yeah. When he was in America, he came across all sorts of weird and wonderful things, and he came across this furry trout, and they're all like, "Oh, don't be preposterous. There's no such thing as a hairy trout." And he asked, Manny brings out this box, and in this box there is a hairy trout, and he's passing it all around.
Don't they say that the Indians talked about it, and it was like part of their their mythos or something? Yeah.
And Jean-Francois says, "This is utter bullshit. You're an actor."
Yeah, and I love that bit because the mother's like, "How dare you?"
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, how dare you speak to a guest like this?" And he's like, "No,
he's right.
Quite true. It's complete bollocks. It's like I had this made, and it's like this is he's using it to show that this is how people will perceive the beast. They perceive it as this big giant monster because one of the priest says that it's been sent from God as a punishment for our wicked ways, sort of thing. And he's saying, what's his name says, no, I do agree that it's definitely not just a normal wolf.
Yes,
but I don't believe it's. I
don't believe it's a dragon or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe it's a werewolf or a demon sent from hell.
He's a naturalist. He is a scientist. He's firmly, he's firmly of the belief that it's obviously real. Not saying it's fake. Women aren't getting eaten.
People aren't
getting eaten by nothing. What I'm saying is, it's something in the natural world, not a mythical beast or anything of the sort. I think it's after the meal or during the meal we see him with Marianne, don't we? He's kind of eyeing her up, and he's
and she is Jean-Francois's sister.
Yeah, she's the daughter of the Count.
Yeah, and she's like sweet, and there's this like poet.
I love this scene. This scene's amazing.
poet is brilliant. There's that's why they talk before they sit for dinner, don't they?
That's the bit I was thinking of. The bit before dinner when he completely screws the guy over. I love that scene so much.
He goes over. They go outside and he's with Thomas and Thomas. He says, "Who's that?" And he says, "Oh, that's Marianne." He says, "Be careful, going over." Go over and talk, and he's like completely ignores him and like bounds over, and then he says to the poet that one of the Comtes is like, "Oh, Comte is like he was talking about you. He's like really interested in one of your opinions," and he's like, first of all, he's like,
doesn't he say he wants him to write his life story or something?
Something like that.
Something like that.
He says, "Can't you see But first of all, he says, "Can't you see I'm conversing with this woman?" And then he says this thing, and he completely like, "Oh, I've got to go. We'll talk later." And he completely fucks off, and the woman completely sees through his bullshit.
Oh yeah, she knows. Yeah. Yeah, she does. She's like, "Have you no shame?"
Yeah.
And he's basically like, "No, not where women are involved." Basically,
not really, no. And that's one thing I will say about this movie as well is that the lingering shots of women in this movie.
Oh yeah,
almost border on the lechery. It's like there's a shot in the first fight, just before the first fight, between Manny when he gets off the horse and he's looking at the woman, and the shot between those two people is like, wow, that's just pure animal magnetism there going on, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the shot lingers on the I never remember what that woman's called. This young woman,
Marianne, I think.
No, the gypsy. The
gypsy. Sorry, I can't think of her name either. Yeah.
No.
We'll just call her the gypsy.
The gypsy, yes, and then you get this the first shot of Marianne is like really lingers on it. I mean. Later on, when we get to another character, it's even worse. But
yeah,
I'm not complaining too much, to be honest. So it's sort of the table that there's like all these stories going round, and the poet.
Oh, this is amazing. I've
made this composition that I would like to tell everybody, and they're all like, "Oh, poem, great."
I think doesn't the mother say like as long as it's not too bawdy or anything. Yeah,
as long as it's not licentious. He says, "Oh no, it is pure and chaste." He says.
He said, "It just come to me. It just came to me." He's like, "Okay."
Yeah, and it's like 5 words or something of the worst.
It is the worst drivel you've ever fucking heard.
Poetry.
Yeah.
The sort of crap that I would write when I was like 13 and like terribly in love with someone. Like it's awful.
And you just see these aristocrats just trying not to laugh and just like oh my god.
They handle it quite well, I think.
They do, yeah, surprisingly well.
And I do love they cut away quite too quickly, but you can see the poet.
He's destroyed,
sits down,
just destroyed.
And the guy next to him, I'm not sure he's a clergyman or whatever, but the guy next to him looks at him and sort of like heavily sighs, and he picks up the bottle, and the poet, you just see the poet lifting his glass up, not looking away, and he puts the glass in front of the guy, and you see the guy just fill his glass up, but it cuts away too soon to really take it in properly.
Yeah,
and it's like you can see this like, no, just fill the glass up. I know I fucked up there. It's there.
Yeah.
It's a really little shot. And I think you get, is it then or before that you get that shot of, you get the woman running away?
Yes, so this was one of the more awkward shots I thought in the movie. This shot, it's kind of a POV from the monster shot in places where it's kind of chasing her and stuff, and that all works kind of well. But I always found the shot when she's getting hit into the rocks is really awkward. It's just something. It's like, I don't know how an animal would throw you like that. Even a lion, I don't think, would do that. It's just kind of odd. Well,
short of her being completely in its mouth.
Yeah.
From the legs down, from the legs up, because it's like she's getting shaken, and I mean animals do shake. I mean, you see animals shaking things.
Yeah, they're shaking, and then there's this. Yeah,
but weird. It's one of those sort of things. It's like what they're doing looks kind of cool.
Yes,
but then but you think about it, and it's like, how is he doing that?
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. Even what they're doing with swords and things later on, you're like, if you think about this, it doesn't work at all. But it looks great.
the problem with that shot is because they don't want to show you the beast yet.
Of course, yeah.
So they're. I think if you were to see it actually doing what it's doing, you would clearly see the beast.
I think they should have just stuck with the point of view shot and just ended with it catching her in a scream and fade to black, rather than this weird kind of rock bashing thing. But whatever, it's a nitpick. It's the one shot in the movie that's always felt really awkward to me.
Yeah, maybe if they would have done the actual shaking from the point of view as opposed to from the rock.
Yes.
But yeah, that is one of the weird shots that doesn't quite work, but it's a nice idea.
Yes, and of course, word reaches them that there's been another attack, and they head out to check that out. And this is where de Fronsac discovers the bite radius of this creature, doesn't he? And he's like, okay, it's pretty bloody big. Like it's something substantial here.
Yeah,
it ain't no wolf.
They get this. They basically said that they're going to do this mass hunt.
Yes.
And like everybody, they've massive bounty out, and everybody from like the surrounding areas have come, and they're like all the hunters.
It's the Jaws. It's the Jaws scene. It's like we're going to go kill the shark, kill all of the ocean. It's basically that. Idiot
with a rifle, with a musket is going to turn. Is turning up, and it is like that scene in Jaws where they're all sat around. There's all those like idiots drinking beer and getting in tiny little boats.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's like 20 people getting in a tiny boat and all pissed up. And it's kind of like that. There's all these like pissed up dudes, and there's like you discover the sort of that the gypsy is kind of with this group of. They're dressed like savages. They're dressed sort of in like skins.
They're almost like barbarian kind of. Yeah,
weird. They really are. They're like barbarians, and we get this. Before that we get the Fronsac talking to Jean-François Francis and he's talking to him. He's talking about the gun, and it's that it's this really cool, beautifully made flintlock that's got this the stock goes around his arm, so that
it kind of it stops the recoil, I guess, and helps him.
Yeah, and he also tells him like significant, like plot point.
This will come up later.
He tells him that he only fires silver bullets because he likes to
mark his shots.
He likes to have a signature. He likes people to know it's his shot, so he.
Well, let's hope that doesn't come back to bite you in the ass later on, my friend.
Yeah, there is that thing that niggles at me being a terrible horror movie nerd, and not just horror movies but horror nerd, and it's he says about the silver bullets, and he says, do you think it's a werewolf? And my brain does the same thing when somebody says about Frankenstein, and they're like, oh, Frankenstein. It's like, no, you mean the monster. The same with that. It's like, at this point in history, the werewolves weren't killed with silver bullets. Just but it's just a thing. It's like.
But this movie doesn't give a shit about anything.
No, it will take anything.
It will just chuck everything in here.
Yeah, and the thing is, we keep saying that, and it does sound like it's a bad thing.
It should be a bad thing, but it works. I can't explain it. It defies logic. This film. I don't understand how it works, but it does. It just does. Trust us.
And then we get there's some sort of ruckus happens, and they run out, and we see that Manny is fighting these savages.
Yeah, he's just kicking their ass.
And this is a great scene. So you get the first two that he takes down quite, not exactly easily, but he takes them down, and then these two women like jump up, and Manny's like, there's this brilliant look between Manny and Fronsac, and Fronsac just smiles at him and sort of goes, just do it. It's like, why not? They're
attacking you, mate. Yeah.
Exactly. Just do it. So he's like, okay, and he he fights them, and then more people turn up, and they're all like piling in, and they've got these they have these claws, don't they? They all come out with these like
The weapons in this movie completely made up fictional things as well. It's certainly for the period anyway. A lot of the stuff that turns up.
They're kind of like punch daggers, but with 2 prongs.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like 2-pronged Wolverine claws.
X-22, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, X-23.
23. I always forget which one. One of the X's.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. And then does Frostnack kill one of them? He shoots him, doesn't he, to sort of end it?
No, it's isn't it? It's the brother, isn't it?
No, not Frostnack. Jean-François. I think I'm pronouncing his name
I can't think
differently every fucking time.
It's the worst film to try and review. These names are going to be a problem. Yeah. Yes, just call him Vincent Cassel. He shoots the last savage who was going to attack Manny from behind, I believe.
Yes.
And he's like, enough games. This is over. Let's get on with this hunt.
We also got this. We also forgot the bit where he says when they're at the dinner table, Marianne says she's going to go to the hunt, and her mother forbids it. And it's like, it's too dangerous. You can't go to the hunt. And Fonsac and Thomas have got like a bet. They've got a bet that she will or she won't turn up. And there's this bit where they're just about they're sort of saddling up, ready to go in on the hunt. And Thomas says, well, you owe me whatever it is, 100 florins or whatever the hell it was. He says, she didn't turn up. And then Manny, he's throwing him the coin and between Manny, and Manny catches it and just points. And you just see this great shot of her coming down the sort of hillside in this amazing red outfit.
Yeah, because everything's very desaturated apart from the reds in this scene. And it looks gorgeous. Yeah. Like all of the reds really pop and everything else is really muted.
Completely pop out.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, so, I mean, of course, I love this. I love 18th century period stuff anyway, and this is another reason why it appealed to me. And I absolutely I mean, there are some real sort of like liberties taken with the outfits, like the leather coats and things and stuff, but overall it looks so fantastic.
I mean, there are some shots in this that straight up look like a Renaissance painting. In places, like the girl who's been attacked by the beast, the first victim that we see dead. It's like a Renaissance painting of a girl, except she's got half of her stomach missing. Half of her
got all her guts ripped.
Yeah, but aside from that, it's shot and looks like a bloody Renaissance painting. It's incredible. So she's joined the hunt mainly, we're assuming, because of Frossack. But she's joined the hunt, and of course, they kind of start joking between themselves, and he says, he can't think about anything while he's in love, and she says, well, that's a bit forward of you, and he's like, well, you assume that's about you?
Yeah, exactly. I like that. He says, we've only just met. He's like, what? How do you know I'm talking about you, sort of thing?
Yeah, and then she just legs it. She just storms off on her horse, and of course he gives chase. And they end up in some ruins, don't they? Some ancient ruins. I think it was a Templar.
It was an old Templar, temple, basically.
Yes.
That was destroyed for heresy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's a thing about the Templars basically got too rich and powerful, and basically the church was like, maybe we should sort these Templars out. So that's basically what they did. They basically wiped them out, and basically took all their money.
Yeah,
because they just got too big for their boots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Manny soon catches them up, and Frossack does some sketches of her while the hunt's happening. He sort of makes it clear that he's not really interested in the hunt at all. At one point she kind of brings it up, and he's like, should I be bothered? Should I be ashamed of the fact that I don't want to hunt these animals? Because he knows that they're not going to find it's not a wolf, so he's whatever they're after.
He's pretty sure it's and I think this is also where we get like basically the idea that the first idea is that Manny's like a shaman.
Yes, although de Frossack is very quick to shoot that down. Because he's like, I can feel it, and Defrossac's like, shut up, Manny. Like, if you just look around, you can figure out what he's just telling you.
Because he says like, lots of people died here, sort of thing. And he's like, yeah, of course they did. And he shows he pulls a bush aside, and there's the Templar symbol on the wall, sort of thing. It's like, yeah, of course they did. It's but he's very quick to sort of knock him down. It's like, but clearly throughout the movie, it's like.
As the movie goes on, as the movie goes on, it becomes, and in fact, it's some of his magic powder stuff that ends up saving Marianne in the end, anyway. So, it's all there is something going on with Manny for sure. Yeah. And this is where we're actually introduced to one of those things, which is his connection to the wolves. Yeah. As a wolf does, they hear a wolf. And it comes wandering through the Templar ruins.
It's on like an altar, isn't it?
When we see the
wolf, it's sort of stood on an altar, and it's a big white wolf. It's a really cool looking, white wolf. And
Marianne and Frozak, they both go to shoot, but then Frozak sees what it is and stops her, doesn't he? He kind of pushes the gun up, and she's furious,
and he pushes the gun up, and then it goes off into the air. And she's like really pissed off that he ruined her shot.
Yeah, and then I think everyone else turns up, don't they? Or members of the hunt turn up and say, "Why are you on foot? Are you insane? Like you will get shot."
Gazelle's like really pissed off that his sister's like there, and they've ruined it. And
but Manny then quietly thanks him afterwards for not shooting the wolf.
Yes, you get that. Yeah, there is actually a really cool. Is it that bit there? There's a shot of just before the wolf turns up. There's a shot of Manny, and then you get these like birds come out from behind him. It's like, whoa, that's like
yes, I think that is there.
Really, yeah, that's like really Disney. That's so
yeah.
I think is it then we get the comp takes him to the brothel.
I believe so. Yeah. So this is when we're introduced to Sylvia, right?
Yeah, which is like it's like the best looking brothel I've ever seen in a movie. It's like really swanky, and they're like the all of the whores look amazingly clean, and it's like the best brothel ever in this little province. And we are introduced to. Sylvia, played by the beautiful, stunning Monica Bellucci, and clearly the Gans absolutely adores her, because like the shots of her are like
again the lingering shots get way worse now. They're like even more lingering.
His tongue must be like, you can almost see his tongue like protruding from under the camera, sort of.
Yeah.
Which I'm not complaining about, to be honest. She is a fantastic looking woman, and she is this courtesan who like Nick immediately starts like undressing, and she's like, "I'm really expensive."
Yeah, he's like, "I've got money," and she's like, "Not enough."
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, she's reading cards, isn't she? I think at first it looks like she's playing solitaire, but I don't think she is.
I don't think she's playing solitaire. I thought the same, because they are just playing cards. They're not tarot cards or anything like that.
You can use. I mean,
you can
use cards for that, and there are systems for it. And I think the original sort of idea was that they use those anyway.
Although I like the idea that she's so bored she's just sat there playing solitaire. Just like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah, I think she's because the last card she flips over is like is it the Ace of Hearts?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think she's sort of reading
symbolism,
and she knows who he is and why he's there, which is like,
oh yes,
how do you know that? And she's like, oh, I've got my ways and methods and stuff, and like she's obviously she's Italian,
yes,
because Monica Bellucci is Italian.
Yeah.
She was actually married to Kessel, I think, at this point in real life.
Right.
And they like, well, they do the deed and all that sort of stuff.
And then you get the scene with the other whores with Manny, right? At this point.
Yes. There's a thing about one of them screams, and she says about
his tattoos moving, snakes on his back and
snakes
stuff,
all over his body and stuff. Yeah, and all the horse are sort of like looking at Manny, and he looks like he's like sat there looking like he's drunk, and he's like he's sort of stood there naked, and she's like, "What do you mean?" Is like his snake moves, and like she goes in, he like takes the cover off of his bottom, and one of the horses is like, "I don't mind. Yeah. I'm happy to go in there." she just happily goes in with him, and which I'm not sure if they're suggesting that there's a tattoo on his knob.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Whether they were just saying that it was his, they were just calling it his snake,
or whether he had a snake tattoo somewhere. I don't know. But either way, basically a lot of this movie is like nobody's seen an Indian before. And they're all sort of, either they treat Manny like shit and they say like, we'll take you to the slave quarters now, or it's like they fear him, they're unsure of him, or he's like a source of amusement for them, and they're kind of curious and kind of he's a curiosity.
There's a bit where he's telling them their totems and stuff, isn't it?
Yes, I think that's after the hunt, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think this is that's the first clue where you get that Castle's a proper wrong un, because he's like really he's drunk and he's really bolshy, and he's a bit he's sort of like slagging him off, and he's a bit lechy to his sister, and you're like, okay. There's something weird. It's
the first hints
wrong.
of it, isn't it? But he kind of plays it off as if it's his missing arm, and he's just really upset about the missing arm. He kind of goes on about that and kind of sidesteps the issue. But you certainly get the hints there of like, he's. If you weren't already convinced when you just saw Vincent Kessel's face that he was evil, now you're sort of pretty certain. Yeah, there's something going on here.
Yeah, and the priest basically says that Manny doesn't count as a human because he's a savage.
Yeah,
and the Fronsac says about him being his. That's where Fronsac says about him being his brother.
Yeah. He says, "Who is he to you?" And he says, "He's my brother."
Yeah.
Then we have another victim, isn't it, that they're investigating, where Manny finds the child, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're missing stuff, but I think
I can't remember the order of things.
Wrong, so
it does
so sort of like. Quickly, and there's so much.
There is a lot going on in this movie. I mean, a lot of it is fighting, but there is also a lot of scenes, and I can't think of the order of a lot of these scenes.
There's a lot of sort of like little intriguey bits.
Yes,
that we get.
Yeah,
so we get.
I believe it's here. Frosak finds the metal fang, doesn't he?
Yeah. So there's a guy comes in and says that there was an attack. His son and his daughter, I think, wasn't it? And they go out and they find the son is dead, and that's where they find the metal fang.
I thought, but there's a child that Manny finds.
Yeah, Manny. Like where the boy is just up from there. There's a girl in like she managed to get in like a little
of some kind, like a tiny little
like a tiny little little nook that she crawled into, and Manny manages to get to sort of get her out, and they take her to the hospital that the Comte is set up on his grounds.
And he gets the artist's sketch of what the beast looks like according to a witness. And he takes it to the child, doesn't he? He takes a sketch to the child in the hospital. And basically says,
I did mean to look up who did the artart for
it's amazing, isn't it? It looks incredible.
The artwork that he does, like portraits of everybody. That he's keeping for like when later on you see when he's like doing his investigation, and he's got this line sort of set up, and he has all their portraits sort of like lined up. It's like suspects sort of thing. But the artwork is amazing. I'm presuming it's one of the big French comic book guys.
I would imagine,
because it looked very sort of like it's very sort of heavy metal, isn't it? It looks like Moebius or oh God, what's his bloody name?
I mean, the beast almost looks like a Frazetta kind of thing going on.
It does, doesn't it? That's that's who I was thinking. The beast is very Frazetta. And the kid says, they keep saying that no, the it's got spikes on it, and it's definitely. And at one point, I think the guy who's the captain of the guard or sort of thing, he says that he shot it and it went
down and then immediately got back up. Yeah,
back up. Yeah. So you get the impression that it might be wearing armor.
Yes. Yeah. But yes, basically because the hunt failed, and more victims have happened. The king sends his weapon master to basically turn up and kill the beast once and for all.
The captain and his men get sent away, and they send this new guy, and he is a complete twat.
He doesn't give a shit.
No,
he basically is just like, I don't really care. If he doesn't even care if the beast is real, he just basically wants to be like, well, I dealt with it. So he is like, we've caught just a wolf, and you're going to make this wolf look like a beast, and we're going to take it back to Paris. You're coming with me, and then problem solved. We can all move on, and I can get on with my day job and not ever have to hear about this again. Even though, clearly, the attacks are going to continue as soon as I leave.
Yeah,
it seems very short-sighted of him.
You find out later why this is happening.
Yes.
Because you also get, I think, around about this time, you get this first look at this book, which is doing the rounds, and basically this book is saying about these things are happening because the king is allowing philosophers and reason, as it were, to sway him away from the word
away
of
from
God. Sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a warning from God. Yeah.
So I mean, I guess to make it short, to cut it down. They get this wolf. They, like you said, they make it. Fronzak's basically told that if he doesn't do as he's fucking told, he'll be ruined.
Yeah, he'll lose his position, if he
does what he's told, he'll get a nice cushy job in Africa because he wants to travel.
He's always wanted to go to Africa, hasn't he?
He's always wanted to get to Africa. Yeah. So if he does what he's fucking told and gets on with it, he can go to Africa and have a nice life wherever it is he chooses.
Yes. Yeah.
So he makes this thing. They go back to Paris, and this twat, who I don't remember what his name is, he unveils the Fronzak's work, and it is the most over the top, almost werewolf looking.
Yeah, it looks like American Werewolf in London painted red. It's kind of almost, because the body's it's got the head of a normal wolf, but the body's super buff. It's like a super buff wolf.
The head sort of enlarged, doesn't it? And he's made the mouth really big.
Yeah.
And it actually looks really cool.
It does, although it doesn't really fool many people, because one of the people with Fronzak is like, "What is this nonsense? Like, what are you doing, mate?"
Yeah. So he's then told to, he's really pissed off, and he wants to know who gave the order to have him come back.
Yeah.
And it's basically the guy who sent him in the first place. But then he shows him this book again, and he's told about.
The Brotherhood.
He's basically told, look, this is a thing. They're gonna we've isolated this province. Stuff's gonna happen there. The king is never gonna hear about it again.
Yeah.
It's just, but people will die. But the king is never gonna find out.
No,
he will never. It's like, as far as we're concerned in Paris here, this is over. It's done. It's an isolated incident. We don't give a fuck, and neither will you.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. So he says, off, here you go. He goes, off you fuck to Africa. And he's like, what can I fucking do? It's like, I've got no fucking choice but to go, basically. So he goes to he's basically at the docks. He's ready to go. And meanwhile, Thomas has been talking to Marianne. Of
course, we missed the bit Marianne falls out with Fronzak.
Yes.
Due to evil Vincent Castle stealing some of his pictures, making her believe that he was having an affair with someone.
Well, he did. It was
I mean, he kind of was,
picture
of Sylvia, isn't it?
Sylvia, yeah. Well, I mean, the problem is that, well, not the problem, but in that period,
yes, yeah, of course,
blokes went to brothels and had mistresses, especially in France.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been quite the problem it is,
unusual,
but it's more that it's a love betrayal, I think, than
yes, she feels betrayed and she feels she can't trust it because you get the impression that she puts up
Sylvia.
Sorry.
I was going to say the portrait of Sylvia is like she is got her boobs out. She is naked. So it is like it's like, you know, it's like the portrait of her is like beautiful and she's got like, you know, it's a side view and it's like this. She's all fully like clothed and stuff. And the portrait of Sylvia is like her lounged out with her sort of like, you know, so it's entirely different. And basically she says. Sylvie actually goes to her in church.
Yes.
And says, you know, he really does love you. It is nothing with me and him. It's just one of those things. You should really try and get him back.
Yes.
And she says, but don't mention that I said anything.
Because it will go to shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So she speaks to Thomas.
Yeah.
And Thomas basically meets
him at the dock. Yeah.
The dock. And he says, you know, why don't you come back? There's been more murders. You really should come back. And he's like, no, I'm not coming back. And he's like, they do this like, I'll make a bet with you that I've got something that'll make you come back. And he's like, no, because there's nothing could possibly make me come back. And he pulls out this letter from Marianne.
Yeah.
And he reads it and he's like, oh, we're going back.
Yeah, we're going back.
We're going back.
Yeah. So they head back.
Yeah.
And secretly meet with Marianne. But they are directly then attacked by the beast.
Yeah, and that's what we forgot to say as well during the attack with the two kids.
Yeah.
One of the kids says there was a man with them.
Oh yes, the man that controlled the beast. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do get these shots of a
They're
guy. They're
wonderful shots as well. They look amazing.
He is creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
The mask is horrible, and he has this right gnarled sort of like huge nailed hand, which got all these
wonder who
scars all
that
over
could
it.
belong to.
And this is the sort of one thing about this movie that I've always thought. This just makes it so fucking obvious.
It really does. The mystery is like none.
You really don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to work everything out. It's so sort of on the nose, and that I think with it, they probably shouldn't have made him one-armed in the first place.
Yeah, it seemed kind of pointless, didn't it?
It just seems like a weird, convoluted way to sort of like try and throw.
It doesn't really go anywhere either, and it's like, why are you pretending like this, and why, like, can you imagine the damage that would do to your arm if you were like leaving it like that all day?
Permanently, like because it's like properly corseted in.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Like it's you would really, probably really lose the use of that arm if you kept doing that for long periods of time.
Yeah,
like, it's insane.
Almost always like it.
Yeah. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves there.
So anyway,
so yes,
we get at this point. Yeah, we do know that. So there is a guy that seems to be controlling,
and I think that's what Franzak says when he comes back, doesn't he? He's like, I know, I'm not after the beast now. I'm after the person that's controlling the beast. And that's when the beast attacks the house, but mysteriously doesn't attack Marianne. It kind of sniffs her.
Yes, it sniffs her and stops.
Because there's a moment where it's like, looks like it's going to attack her, but it doesn't.
It will literally kill her because it's right on top of her.
And this is other than a really vague, weird, blurry flashback that the kid has. This is the first time we see the beast in all of its glory. It's a massively armored tiger. Hard to even see the. Is it a lion? Sorry, lion. Of course it is. Yeah, so hard to see that from Africa. It's hard to see the lion in there, but you kind of see its eyes, and it's kind of clearly. It's clearly the eyes that give it. It's the eyes that give it away, and the whenever you see its actual fur, it's
very lion colored sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I love the design of the headgear.
It's great,
and whenever it opens its mouth, like the sort of the metal teeth like ping out. It's really fucking cool. It's one of the best Henson designs, I think. It's so like cool and clever.
It's very cool. Very cool.
And basically a mob break the door down and they see the beast inside the room. And then the beast sort of like goes back through the cellar and escapes after Franzek is stuck it with a pitchfork, and the pitchfork is like stuck into it. This
poor fucking lion. I mean, I don't know how it survives some of the later stuff, but it's like the guy who you find out that the guy from the beginning who the soldiers were the gypsy man. On. Yes.
Yeah, you find out that he actually is he fixes horses, and he's kind of like a medicine man, I guess. He's sort of like or a vet, I suppose. He loves animals, and he trains animals, and he fixes them by the looks of it. Yeah. And if I remember rightly, the guy, he is a real life guy. I think he is actually the hunter that killed the beast in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think if I remember
rightly, the character he's playing was actually the guy who killed it.
I think so, yeah.
How
I think
weird.
If I remember reading rightly, that he is, yeah.
Okay.
But they clearly wanted to go a completely different way. They wanted
very different,
more of a much more adventure story type thing.
Yeah. So the beast returns to its master. We see that shot on the hill.
We see that he's using a whistle to call.
Yes. Yeah.
The beast.
So now
he pulls the fork out.
Yes, pulls the fork out of him.
The beast.
So now Defrozak is more convinced than ever that it's being completely controlled by a person. And if he gets to that person, it's fine. But also, obviously now, he is aware that for some reason, it's killed plenty of other women. It has not killed Marianne, because he saw the beast back off. It sniffed at her, and then it backed off.
And then we get the predator moment.
Yes, let's build loads of traps in the forest and try and catch the beast.
Yeah, they
set
go
an ambush.
This, like, little. Is it the Templar place, or is it? No,
it looks similar, but I think it's somewhere else.
It's like a little sort of valley sort of thing, and they set up all these elaborate traps and cages and things for the beast. And I think while this is going on, is this where we get the bit with from Cassel and Marianne?
It's around this point. It might be just after this. It might be just after this.
It's after Manny.
I think it's just after this bit. Yeah.
Okay, so you get the all these big sort of like swinging spiked logs and cages coming down, and the beast just completely makes kindling out of all of it. It
pretty much
sort of smashes through all these like barriers that they've built, and
it grabs the Marquis at one point, starts dragging him away, and they manage to free him.
Bites his arm.
Yeah,
Manny. They definitely wound it.
They throw axes at it, they shoot it, and I think it also gets hit by one of the big things that fucked up the predator.
One of the hit by the spiky log, doesn't
spiky log, the spiky log.
But it gets away, and Manny goes to chase it down.
Yes, Frozak stays with the injured Marquis.
With Thomas.
Yeah.
And Manny follows it into this sort of complex where
it's like a catacomb of sorts, isn't it? And there's like a whole sort of cage for this creature and stuff in there.
Yeah, there's all these dogs in there, and this is where the savages turn back up.
Yes, in greater numbers.
And the gypsy woman's there, and like. Yeah, she's a real bitch. Like, she is. Manny likes this woman, and she looks like she kind of likes him, but I don't think she can make a.
There's a moment of regret in her eyes when he gets shot. That's for sure.
Yeah,
she kind of is questioning her, what she's doing at that point.
It's questioning her life choices.
So yeah, I mean, can we point out that before this gunshot, Manny was fucking kicking everyone's out. There's there's like 10 people in this room, and he's just having none of it.
Yeah, he's kicking the shit out of all these people.
And if she wasn't there, he might have gotten away with this, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, he's taking on all of them pretty successfully. He gets injured a bit, but he's holding his own until he sees her and he freezes. He refuses to attack her. And then, of course, he's shot in the back. Yep. I wonder by who.
Yeah, so he gets shot in the back, and then, I mean, a little later we see what happens to him. Basically, he gets picked up by the savages.
Yeah, they put him on like a torture.
He's put on like a
it's almost like a torture rack of some kind, isn't it? Yeah.
It's got spikes on it, and they stick him on that, and they basically torture him to death.
Yeah.
And then they throw him into a ditch, and he's found, and Fonzak does like an autopsy on him, and obviously he digs the bullet out of him, and he's like, "It's a silver bullet! Mm-hmm. What a surprise!"
Yeah, probably should have removed that, mate.
And he's then basically arrested.
Yes, he's on his way back. He gets arrested, and he is thrown in jail.
Oh, hang on, does he go? Is it?
Oh no, sorry.
He goes on
the killing spree. He kills everyone in the.
He kills most of the savages in this. Yeah.
But he has to return from Manny because Manny's spirit can best find the afterlife first thing in the morning of a certain day. So that's the only reason he stops is to do that, I think. Because he goes back to he obliterates this fucking cult of people, but then has to stop for this.
It's the first time that you see Fonzak go all ninja,
which is cool. Because for the whole movie, you're like, oh, like Manny's the one with the martial arts and not Frozak.
Yeah.
Frozak's like, he's a knight, but he's not going to be, And then it's like, like halfway towards the end of the movie, you're like, oh god, Frozak's even more of a badass. Like,
yeah. He puts the sort of the same war paint that Manny had on his face, and then he goes and kills them in this like. He also finds the room, doesn't he? He finds like this room at the back
covered in blood,
all these like skulls and babies in jars and weird stuff, and the mask and the outfit that the mysterious guy has is there.
Well, I mean, at this point, I guess he knows exactly who it is, but yeah.
Well, of course he does. So he gets arrested in the morning. He's collecting Manny's ashes, and the soldiers turn up, and he's arrested because he killed basically people for the sake of a savage, and that's just not done.
Yes. Yeah.
So while he is in prison, Marianne goes to her father. Her father is in cure, so he's away.
Yes.
He's away. She goes to the mother and the priest and says, he's innocent. He's a good man and stuff. And they're like, no. And this is basically where you realize, everybody's in on this big conspiracy.
Yeah. It's
the priest. I mean, you kind of got the hints all through the movie, but you finally get the whole sort of like, oh no, she needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Because she's.
This is where we see the Brotherhood of the Wolf right here. We see it's all kind of
to go to the king.
Yeah.
And then they basically go to poison her. Kessel turns up and says, "Don't drink that."
Yes, and for a moment you're like, "Oh, Kessel's being a good guy. He doesn't want his sister to die. That's good."
It's like he doesn't want his sister to die because he wants to run away with her.
Yeah.
And have babies and stuff because he's always loved her. And he says the reason he went to Africa in the first place is because he couldn't control his lust for her. It's like, right, you're a proper wrong'un then.
And
okay.
And that when he was injured and he came back, she was the face he saw every day when he woke up, and she looked after him. Don't know how how you get nursed back to health when you've still got an arm, but somehow fake that you don't have an arm. Even though you're getting nursed back to
when he unhooks, when he cuts the corset that he's wearing open, the way he pulls his arm out, it does look like he's missing an arm. The bottom is missing because of the way the scarring looks, which is actually quite well done.
It's cool. It's a cool look.
Looks really cool. And he's sort of like the contorting is really cool when his arm sort of comes out, and it's this like massively gnarled, scarred hand
with like massively long nails.
Yeah, and he's like, she says something about like, I thought you lost it, and he's like, I did, and he sort of says that, she says that he came back another man, and he's like, yeah, there's like, this is that when I lost the arm, I lost my old self, and it's like this new self came out, sort of thing, and it's like, oh okay, you fucking nutter. Yeah. And then of course he proceeds to rape her. It's like,
rapes her.
God, thankfully,
they have
they at least have the decency to not show it.
Yes. Yeah.
They do sort of
they cut
away.
Yeah. I believe they cut away to Frosak in jail.
Yes.
With Sylvia.
So Frosak's in jail, and Sylvia not exactly bribes the guard. Well, because he says, how did you get in? I'm supposed to be in solitary. And she says, oh, people owe me favors. And she says all this stuff about, she explains to him about the Brotherhood of the Wolf and stuff. And I think it doesn't strictly say it, but the fact that she's from Rome and she knows all this stuff, she clearly is a Vatican assassin.
Yeah, it's kind of made a bit more clear afterwards as well, when she turns up after everything's kind of gone down. She kind of is like clearly she's an agent for someone, for someone in Rome. Yeah.
She says initially that the Brotherhood was actually kind of sent from Rome to sort of like
I guess in the same way the Templars were, and now they've got out of hand like the Templars did, and they're like, okay, we got to mop up our mistake now, and
so she's kind of there to clear up the Vatican's mess, isn't she?
Yeah.
And while they're talking, he's eating his sort of this meal,
the obviously poisoned meal. Yeah, again, it's another thing. It's like there's no mystery what's going on here, No, but I think that's a couple of weak points in this movie is the things like the arm and some of the obvious poisoning and stuff. It's the poisoning feels so unnecessary as well, because it's like this plan would go so much better if you explained to him what he needs to do when he wakes up. Be like, eat this, you're going to fall asleep, it will fool people into thinking you're dead, you'll wake up in a day or whatever, you'll just be in like a deep sleep, you'll wake up in a day, and then you can take your revenge. That would be much more useful than him waking up in a grave and being like, what the hell's going on?
Because I don't think for a minute you think, oh, she's killed him.
No.
I think you do sort of think, well, there's...
But he might think that she killed him.
Yes. I mean, it's like, if she's killed him, then that's the end of the movie, and, how is this movie going to end if she's actually killed him? So you don't think, no, she hasn't killed him. She's obviously like doing this to get him out of prison.
And I think it's for dramatic, for drama, right? And it looks very cool. Yeah, it is. But I think we can safely assume that she digs him up and meets him once he's been taken out of the castle. Yeah. So that she fills him in after once he's free. Obviously we don't see that because it's way more dramatic when he just appears and he's, You
see that later, yeah. So we then get the Brotherhood meeting up. They are at the Templars.
Yes.
The old Templars temple. They're all in these red robes and they've all got these masks on, and they're all like, we're going to do this in all the other provinces.
Yeah. So the idea is to undermine the king, isn't it? They're basically going to try and undermine the king.
It's to undermine the king to make sure that the age of reason doesn't continue.
Yeah.
They want everybody to be scared of
God-fearing.
God and the devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to set up the Brotherhood in every province so that it all goes up. They've kind of just needed to wait a couple of years and it would have happened. They just needed to wait 30 years and it would have happened anyway. But for different reasons.
Yeah.
So
that's why I always find the end of Beauty and the Beast really depressing, because it's like they all lived happily ever after for a few years.
They really didn't. Yeah, exactly. It's like they probably didn't.
Yeah,
unless they got out of France, they probably didn't.
Yeah.
he's making this the priest guy, bishop or whatever he is. He's making this big speech, and then somebody starts finishing off the speech.
Yeah.
And you look over and oh, there he is. He's surprise.
Wearing the paint again. Yeah.
Yep, wearing the war paint, and he comes down with these two short
He names
swords.
them all, doesn't he, as well? He's like, I name you. I'm back from the dead, and I'm naming all of you. Because, of course, they're God-fearing as well, so they're like, oh, shit. Like, he's actually been sent by God. Like...
Yeah. So there's a big panic, and most of them, like, they start running away. The priest, like, he completely legs it. He's like, I'm gone. I'm fucking...
I'm out of here.
I'm right out of here. And then basically Kessel like unveils himself, and he kicks his arm out, and he pulls out this which you've seen. It's actually when he finds the hidden room.
It is
the back,
there. Yeah, it is there.
There's it's like a bone sword, isn't it?
It's
which turns out to be a chain whip.
I would one would assume that Christophe Gans is a big Soul Calibur fan, because it's basically Ivy's weapon from Soul Calibur. Yeah,
it's the chain whip sword thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can clearly see that Gans is a massive like kung fu movie fan,
video game kung fu.
He loves all this, and
because even Fronzak's kind of double sword fight style is very Soul Calibur as well.
He's using two short swords with these knobs on that he can spin them round, and like this. The fight between them, it's a really good fight.
It's a cool fight. And as ridiculous as this weapon is, it looks so cool.
It's so over the top. It's not remotely realistic. It's full-on Kung Fu movie stuff. And he actually kills himself.
Yes, he does.
He goes to, like, he's almost beaten Fronzak, and he goes to retrieve he pulls his chain back in, and as he pulls it, the sword that Fronzak's sword comes with it and goes straight into his stomach. It's like, yep, that you just fucked yourself there, mate. Well done.
Yeah.
And then Thomas turns up and says Marianne is dying. It's all gonna it's
too late,
going horribly wrong. It's too late. You've got to say, and Fronzak takes we forgot one of the bits. There's a bit where
Manny healed someone.
Manny heals the girl. He heals the girl in the from the cave.
That's right, and they accuse him of witchcraft or being in with the devil in league with Satan. It's like no, he's healed him. His ancient Indian medicine.
He's got this bracelet that's got some sort of powder in it.
Yes,
it got magic dust that he uses to and they wake the girl up with. And when the savages kill Manny, one of them takes the bracelet, and then when Fronzak kills them all, he takes the bracelet back.
Yes,
and we see when they go to Marianne, and her father is actually returned from cure, as it were.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck happened? I just went on a little trip, and now, good God.
Yeah, I went to take the air somewhere, and like everybody, like he clearly was clueless. His wife wasn't. She was in on it.
Yeah.
She was totally in on it. Because she even like, when the priest says we need to take care of like her, Marianne, she's like, yeah, we got to kill her. It's like, because she just nods, and you're like, oh, you completely in on it. So the mother is, but the father isn't, and she's dying, and obviously she gives her the magic powder.
Yes,
and then we go back to the starting narration again. We go back to the older Thomas, who's literally getting ready to go out to the mob.
Yeah,
and he says, "Oh, I haven't got much time left now. I'm just going to finish off the story." So he goes out to the mob. The mob take him away, and then he finishes the story. So we get the explanation of them digging him up, Sylvia, meeting him and stuff. And I love that there's that brilliant bit where there's all the bodies and Sylvia turns up with the soldiers.
Yes.
And she goes over to Kessel's character and she shoots him, and he's like, he's already dead. He's like, we fucking is now.
Yeah, he definitely is now.
It's like, I love that she makes sure he's fucking dead. That's brilliant.
We also see Frossack and the Marquis go to the beasts, kill the beast as well, don't we? Is that here?
Yeah, we go to see. Yes, where he goes in and he
shoots it.
He basically puts it out of his misery.
Yeah,
and you see the love that the trainer has for this beast. Like, he's like devastated that.
Yeah, because I think doesn't the Marquis say that he found the beast had a litter of cubs and he took one of the cubs and made it vicious and he taught it.
He made it horrible and had this sort of thing, this suit made for it and all that sort of stuff. And we also got the bit with Sylvie says to Frossack, you could come to Rome with me.
We could use people like you in Rome.
Like you. And then like before he can even answer, she cuts him off and she's like, no, you're too late. You didn't, because she knows he's not going to.
Yeah.
Too late. I'm taking it back, and she goes, and obviously he goes back. He saves her, and they go off to Africa.
Yes, and
the Duke, the comp says, I never saw them again. I hope they had a long, happy life in Africa, sort of thing.
And we just see them sailing happy, don't we? Sailing away. But the Marquis has a horrible death, and that's
it's kind of a horrible death, but at least it's a sort of clean.
It's very
death,
noble as well. I mean, he takes it very nobly, and he's very accepting of it, and he's just like, fine. He walks out there, and that takes I can't even imagine how much that would take to face that.
Mob and stuff,
yeah. So it's this movie just shouldn't work, but it does.
No, I think it does.
I can't even explain how weird, and even us describing it doesn't do justice to how weird and how many styles this movie mashes into one.
It's a period piece. It's got Western elements. It's got romance elements. It's got horror elements. Mm-hmm. It's got thriller and detective elements.
Completely historically inaccurate. Although it does get very specific with certain periods and certain things, it then does things that make no sense for the period, like a lot of the weapons, a lot of the outfits. It's bizarre. It's so bizarre.
It's not like Bridgerton or what was that bloody movie that I really love? Plunkett and McLean. Mm-hmm. It's not that level of anachronistic.
No.
But it is very anachronistic.
We get these wonderful dream sequences, like visions that Frossack has.
Sylvia's the dream with Sylvia. That is something out of a Rob Zombie, isn't it? It's
straight up incredible painting that it kind of creates.
Him sort of thing. It's brilliant.
It's great. Great visuals in this film. This film has amazing visuals, and the cinematography is really what saves it, I think, from being a horrendous mess, because it's
Gans's best movie. I mean, he hasn't done a lot, to be honest, but I think I haven't seen.
I'm a big fan. I like Necronomicon, and I do.
Oh, I did like it, but he only did one
sequence. I think it's the first sequence, isn't it?
Story?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the first story, I think.
I do really like his Beauty and the Beast.
And like I said, I do like his Crying Freeman as well.
Yeah, for what it is.
I do think this is the best of what I've seen. I think it's such a really weird mash that I think works for me anyway.
I think that obviously it's not going to work for everyone. I think it works for me because it's so well executed and so expertly shot.
Yeah, I think so. I
think that's the only reason.
He does have a real eye for beauty and visuals.
Oh, for sure.
He's got a. There are some absolute. I mean, there's another shot that we forgot, which is absolutely batshit crazy, over the top, and beautifully brilliant. There's this amazing cutaway scene where we get Sylvia's draped on the bed, naked. And the camera goes in tight to her, and it goes up her breasts. And as it's going up her breasts, it dissolves into the hills.
Yes, it transitions to the hills, doesn't
it? Snowy countryside. And it's like, that shot is both terrible and awesome at the same time.
It's
so corny and so sort of over the top.
But this is what I think the whole film is, and if it wasn't for the talent and the cinematography behind it, it just wouldn't work. In the hands of a lesser director, this would just be awful. Like, just fucking awful.
Absolutely. I think it feels on a similar thing to like a Tarantino movie, you know?
Yes,
it's like,
very much so.
This shouldn't work, but Tarantino knows how to pull these things together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Gans does that with this as well. He manages to make this massively weird and anachronistic movie work somehow through its beauty and its you know, the mechanics. It's a really well done movie. I mean, it's
great.
Again, like we usually say, it's not gonna appeal to everyone, but again, it's a really great.
If you're willing to just go with it, don't get stuck in the history, don't get stuck in you know, any kind of. I mean, the tone's consistent. It's not like the tone's all over the place, but
no, it doesn't.
The themes and stuff going on. It just a lot of different styles of genres of film all in one. Like I said, some of them I think really work, some don't. I'd forgotten that it's a long movie, but I think any shorter and it wouldn't work. It needed to be like 2.5 hours because there is so much going on. There is so, and I personally wasn't bored when. On the quieter, I think on some of the quieter moments, I think some people might lose it. Yes, I agree.
Get a little impatient. But I think it needs those bits to tell the story it's telling. It needs those sort of like longer bits to make the conspiracy work. You know, because for the most part, it does. The conspiracy angle really does work. Other than the sort of weird Cassell character. His motivations and his weirdness. Other than that, I think it works overall. Yeah, I think it does. It somehow all of these strange things come together and make this film. Yeah, it's a really enjoyable movie. I highly recommend giving it a watch. It's one of the weirdest films I've seen, like in terms of what it's trying to do in one film. It's not like really weird. I mean, there are weird films out there, but like you said, it's not Zardoz weird. It's not Zardoz weird. It's just weird in that it's doing so much. Yeah, and putting so many genres in. But it does them expertly well, and I highly recommend watching this one. This was a good choice. I was really glad we did this one. This was good. Yeah, it was good. So next time we will be back with our usual movie reviews. Hopefully by then you will have seen Mortal Kombat. I will rewatch Mortal Kombat so that we can talk about it. Yep. But yes, until then, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time. Bye.